Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I mean, there's the last time probably we are wishing online. And welcome to this day end. I would say, yeah, day end. It's a day beginning, rather, after what we have learned through right from the time of 15th July when we started our journey on leadership development and citywide inclusive sanitation. And then how we went through the different courses.
Power off.
So let's, the next slide, please. Let's look back a little bit so that it becomes, we do a recapitulation, and then we have some gracious speakers. We have some gracious people who have honored us by joining us to this graduation ceremony. I welcome them all, so that they also get a glance of what we have done in the past 2.5, 3 months. So this is, of course, the graduation of the 5th cohort. So we have been doing this course for the past 2.5 years, and this is the 5th cohort. And in this cohort, we had almost 84 participants, as you can see, from different countries. In fact, nine different countries, and then different states of the country of India. They were different kinds of practitioners, both working at the city levels or the state or national levels. And then on the right-hand side, if you see the different government organizations, different organizations, INGOs, different academic institutions, they were a part of our this cohort. They were our participants who learned and they contributed. They taught us to. The next one, please. So just to look back, where we studied, or what we studied, or what we tried to understand within this course in the past few months. We tried to understand the context of urban sanitation, and then we introduced ourselves to the concept of citywide inclusive sanitation. We understood what are the principles of citywide inclusive sanitation, the best practices. And then as we went into, we understood the standards, global environmental standards that are practiced, that are standards, strategies for compliance that are practiced in a particular country's context. We listen to India, we listen to Nepal. Then when we say in citywide inclusive sanitation, as we say that it is inclusive, so we needed to understand integrating the gender perspective and how it is done, where it is done, in what way we can do it. And then we understood the frame, we had the frames and tools to plan this whole sanitation gender perspective, to infrastructure development, to monitoring everywhere. And then gradually where we entered into the sanitation value chain, where we started with the toilets, different kinds of toilets, be it from the age-old practiced Western commodes to the pit latrines, to the most recent that we look towards is the reinvent toilets, the HRTs, CRTs, and then the containment systems, the emptying procedure, the transportation procedure, the treatment technologies. We had different private partners who came up with us and demonstrated the different kinds of fecal sludge treatment technologies that they have set up, and they have been practicing and working for for several years. Then came the chapter of talking about sanitation behaviors. How do we do it? Was it a science? Was it an art? Was it a combination of art and science? And then we had people speaking to us from the media who are specifically working in the sanitation sector on how to do it. The most simplified way where we can begin and we can go on with. Then, of course, you had spent some 3 hours, if you remember, on a day when you were on a workshop on innovations and sanitation entrepreneurship. You have actually developed a kind of mindset right now that you can actually go forward and become entrepreneurs in this sector. And then, of course, after establishing all these infrastructure comes the process of monitoring, evaluating, and putting ourselves on a benchmark, where we lie, where we want to go up, how are we falling back or whatever. We learned about that. And lastly, to sustain CIVIS, it's not only the people who are actively working, it's the people around us, the political leaders, the city administrators. We talk about them. And then, of course, there was one session where we specifically talked about the different kinds of financing mechanisms, how public-private partnership actually works in this sector, and what are the different modes of public-private partnership. It was the practitioners who came to you and spoke to you. The next one, Jyotsna. And then it was not just we came up, you came up onto the camera and joined the link, and then we had a talk and then we left. It was not that. Our pedagogy of teaching way was not that. We had provided you a link, the learning materials in a system where you had your self-study materials. There were these, every session we begin, even today we began with the pertinent kind of video, which would actually bring into your mindset on the session, like what we are going to learn in the next few hours. And then we had these learning sessions. Then there was every resource person, they came. It was not a kind of a class delivery. It was not a kind of a schoolish class delivery. It was a kind of more of experience sharing. So they talked about their good experiences. They talked about their bad experiences, how they dealt with those bad experiences, how they are propagating their good experiences to other places, other works, other systems. That is what we had. We did it religiously for the past few months on a Wednesday and a Saturday for 1.5 hours. And then, of course, we had the social innovation workshops. And of course, in between, we had that sanitation tour of 3 days where some of you had come to us, visited us here in Hyderabad. We took you around places to showcase you, make you interact with the people who are actually working in the fields, and you had seen. So what you had learned in your self-study materials, what you had learned in your classroom sessions was not just that theoretical, you had actually seen them on the ground to believe into them. Yes, next one. And then, of course, it was not that we are a bit kind of a strict assessors. It's not that we just deliver and give you a certificate. We had our assessments done also. So we regularly used to monitor you on your attendance, what you are come to the sessions, your active participation, like how you are questioning yourself to our resource persons, what kind of questions, clarifications you are taking. We had 2 quizzes or assignments given to you in the form of multiple choice questions, and then you had to score on them. You had to plan your action plan, and you had to give an action plan for change, and you had to present it to us, what you actually thought. So it was not just a PPT you had given to us, but you had to speak about what your actual plan is. And then, of course, the workshop gave you a vivid perspective on what an entrepreneurship in this field of sanitation would look like. Next one. And we must congratulate ourselves to the people who had been with us for all the sessions we had gone through. A round of applause. We can actually raise our hands, or we can take an emoji and give a round of applause to all to the participants here. I would specifically name, I could read the names, and that would be Ajita, Jogarao, Mustafizur, Nikita, Richa, Santosh, Rashid, Madan Bahadur. All we congratulate you and for your diligence and for your discipline to be in the classes at the right time and attend and participate in the class. The next one. The next slide, please. And of course, based on your assessments, these are some of our leaders whom we find that they have performed not only in the quizzes, not only in the action plan, they have performed brilliantly in every of the assessments we had done. And a round of applause to all of you too. So the Shahida from Maldives, Ajita, Jogarao, Devendraji, Harsha, Kriti, Mustafizur Rahman, Nikita Rai. We have one more slide. Yes, we have Richa, Santosh, Srijana, thank Prasad, to Sita, all these people. Some of you, of course, we had met on when you came here or in other places during this period. A round of congratulations, a round of felicitations to all of you for being our most meritorious participants. The next one. So just to give everyone present in this forum right now, of course, we had practiced orientation periods. Learning was not just in a one-sided delivery, it was based on mutual discussions. We had demonstrated shared with you the different tools, templates in planning, monitoring, etc. And then you had these very hardcore technical sessions, and the technical sessions was not just theoretically giving it to you, it was the practitioners who actually spoke to you that this is how we do it, this is how we design it, this is how we implement it, and this is how we take it forward. And of course, with lots of questions that we had lots of these questions, and then the innovation workshop, and then finally you came to the service plan, action plan development that you did. So this was all presented by you. It was not that just submission of the document, but also presenting yourself, speaking about it, throwing out your ideas, sharing your ideas, and having an open-ended discussion about your ideas. Thank you. Yeah, the next one. And these are some of the glimpses, if you see, of the different sessions we have gone through. So from the left-hand uppermost corner, if you remember, that was the session when we had this session on the reinvented toilet technologies where Mr. Venkatakrishnan spoke to us. Then this was the inaugural session. This is one of the action plan session, and there we have our course director, Professor Chari, delivering in one of the screenshots shared with you. The next one. And of course, another round of applause and thanks and gratitude to all the faculty members. We are sure some of you have joined in this session also with us. So right from Professor Kitawaki, Dr. Sitaram, Dr. Kazushi Hashimoto, they have been our pillars of support always from the day one we have started with this course. And of course, people from different organizations we have gone through, they have come up, they have spared their time, and they have educated us, shared with their ideas. And then thank you so much. A big round of thanks, gratitude to all of you. And we hope in our further cohorts also, we would be getting the same support we have been getting from you always. Having said that, I would like to welcome Dr. Sitaram, Senior Consulting Specialist at ADBI, to give in his opening remarks to our graduating participants who have gone through this course. Over to you, sir, Dr. Sitaram. Has he joined? I saw him somewhere.
Yeah, I think maybe we can first start with Professor Chari sir is also here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile.
Yeah, please, over to you, Professor Chari. We just had a recapitulation of what we had gone through, and I would leave the dais to you for the opening remarks to this graduation course. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Josna?
Yes.
Perfect. So, firstly, congratulations to all the delegates who has joined this program, Citywide Inclusive Sanitation 5th group. We are very, very excited that you have patiently gone through this. A large batch, very diverse batch, as Dr. Banerjee mentioned, and there's a phenomenal cross-learning. But before I outline a couple of highlights and what's a plan of action, first of all, let me thank Dr. Chaurasia, who is coming from senior advisor, coming from CPHEO, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. We have with us Dr. Roshan, who's been a big supporter of this program, very strong, I would say, promoter of peer learning, strong promoter of regional learning between different regions, and he's been a big strength of support. We also have with us Dr. Muid, who is from Bangladesh. He's a Chief Operating Officer from DPHE, Bangladesh. Again, a big supporter and a strong promoter of citywide inclusive sanitation. Of course, we have specially invited Ms. Chola from Zambia, who is a regulator, who is going to speak on this occasion. Very important initiative which Africa is taking. And we wanted to have some cross-learning. We wanted to have her ideas to be pollinated in this region, in South Asia in particular. So she is our special guest today, and she's going to speak about African experience. And of course, special thanks to Dr. Sitaram, who has been a collaborator, has been a partner in this whole journey of citywide inclusive sanitation. So thank you very much for all of you for joining this. And of course, very eminent speakers and who come from public sector, private sector, who has been a big strength of support for the last 5 batches. And I can see a couple of them. I see Mr. Kamal Tiwari from Daiki Axis, and a lot of other people who have supported this as faculty members. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of alumni members who joined us. Again, thank you very much for joining on this graduation day. Now, a couple of points before I hand it over to Dr. Banerjee to conduct this session. We have carried out an impact assessment, or rather we have been in the process of carrying out the impact of capacity building. What is the impact of all this cross-learning? What is the impact of these initiatives that we've been doing in the last 2.5 years? This is the 5th batch, as I said. We carried out, we went back to the alumni, we went back to them, we went back to their head of the departments who have sponsored them to understand whether these sort of programs, whether they have any value. And if so, what is the value and what additional things that we should do in order to take the knowledge to practice? That is a big hypothesis. That is a big question. It's nice that we all attend these programs. So what? What next? Are we able to translate some of these ideas into real life situations? Are we really making an impact on the communities? These are some of the questions. And we didn't want to do ourselves. We engaged an external expert to go back to the alumni and talk to them to understand and see what additional things we should do in order to strengthen the hands of our partners, our collaborators, our alumni. So a couple of ideas came out as part of it, and I'm going to share those ideas with you. Number one, the big idea that came up was that, yes, these capacity buildings are important, but I think there is a huge need for system strengthening in their organizations. When I say system strengthening, there is a need for responsible authority. There is a need for resource planning, additional human resources, additional financial resources. There's a need for very important performance management systems, especially municipal information management system, so that the performance is measured. So right now, the sanitation performance is not measured systematically, and there is a need for performance measurement system. So these are a couple of big ideas that came up. One is about strengthening systems. So the participants asked examples, experiences for strengthening the systems, though we covered a couple of those ideas during the course, but they wanted more. They wanted more practical experiences. Number one. Number two, the big idea that came up was about this whole idea of accountability, and accountability through community engagement, accountability through regulatory framework. So that is where we invited Ms. Chola to speak to us briefly how regulations can strengthen performance and also make organizations more accountable. So independent regulation is another idea. Though they did not say regulation, but there was a greater emphasis on regulation, emphasis on accountability. How do we make sector accountable, people who are delivering services more accountable? This is a second big idea that came out, or rather, this was discussed extensively during the impact assessment of the capacity building. The third idea that came up was about leapfrogging. How do I leapfrog? We have about 6-7 years before SDGs, and how do I get safe sanitation in an accelerated way? So because many of our participants are also coming from technical background, when they heard about these transformative technologies, they asked for more details on transformative technologies and related standards. For example, standards on biosolids, though we discussed a bit of it, but we haven't really figured out how do we go about introducing the standards for biosolids, for promoting circularity. So the other big idea is about how do we mainstream standards in the region, particularly South Asian region doesn't have this notification of biosolid standards. How do we get these regulations? How do we get these standards? And how do we bring in transformative technologies? So these are the big ideas that came out during this impact assessment. I'm sure this group also echoes what I'm speaking about from the earlier batches. So what are the next steps? So the next steps are that we need to connect, keep in touch with all of you. Now we are almost 500 people. 500 people went through these courses. We need to create an association. We need to create a network, which I will speak at a later part. Dr. Banerjee is going to announce a network of practitioners, and also work and deepen our understanding on system strengthening, technologies, and also on the regulatory practices. It's not going to happen overnight, but this conversation should continue for another couple of years, so that when the governments are ready, when the systems are ready, we are equipped, we are capacitated to support the policy, in drafting the policy and also implementation of these policies. So these are some of the ideas I thought I will share with you. The decision now is that we need to continue this conversation. This is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of the journey for strengthening safe sanitation agenda, and we have to do in an accelerated way. And for this, some of the reforms that I discussed earlier should be worked on, should be discussed at length. And these are some of the next steps that we are going to have. We're going to have some webinars. We're going to have some exchange programs. Already many of you have visited Warangal. We have went to Orissa. Some of you have done this study tour. Another group is coming, I think, from 10th onwards. Josna is organizing a 3-day module for some of the participants from Nepal who have attended the course but who could not join the field visit. So another batch is coming. So we are going to continue this conversation beyond what we have discussed right now, and to strengthen the sanitation service delivery in the regions that we are all working. So thank you very much again for being very patient with us, being very, very participative, and for giving a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas to move forward. What are the next steps? Most of it has come from you. So thank you very much. And I hand it over to Dr. Banerjee to take the discussions further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Chari. Of course, we have somehow we find Dr. Sitaram might be joining later on. So may I welcome Dr. Abdullah Al Mueed from Bangladesh, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the CWIS FSM Support Cell of Department of Public Health Engineering. Over to you, Dr. Mueed, to deliver your graduation day address to our all graduates here.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Banerjee, for inviting me in this graduation ceremony. I'm actually very much delighted, because I am also one of the alumni of such a blissful capacity development initiative taken by ASCII. And definitely it's my pleasure to be here to deliver some of my learnings also. So Dr. Banerjee has shown what we have learned during the whole course of this training program. There were 12 modules, but it's also important that this is the learning of our whole journey. because SOIS, citywide inclusive sanitation, is not telling about just improved sanitation infrastructure. It's the testament to our commitment to inclusivity. So therefore, I mean, we have a lot of responsibility and accountability to perform our functions. And that's the beginning of our journey here from this training program. So I would like to mention here 3 key lessons that I learned also from the training, as well as how I am continuing those learnings into my practice in my present position as the Chief Operating Officer of the SOIS FSM Support Cell of Department of Public Health Engineering, Bangladesh. So it is always strategic to work with the government, and government, sometimes we say that when we work in the sector, like wash sector, government is like an elephant, and the other evidences that have been created by many of us, like private sector, like NGOs, like INGOs, like those are some sort of ants. So, I mean, the government has all the resources and to take the leadership so that it will be implemented in scale, and the sustainable functional roles will be, in place in reality. But the greater evidences, small evidences that have been created, many of us, that has to be, taken by the government, and that has to be instilled in the government projects pipeline, reflected in their works, and that has to be the proper approach. That is what we say the best practices to be reflected in the work while we scale up. But things are not so easy. So there are three things I would like to hear where we can kick off after we take it, completion of our trainings from here. We will be always in our workplace, and we will start our work, and we will be in our work after we go back from this training. And it's the beginning. So the number 1, let's try to take the decisions based on our data, whatever the data available in your city, in your organizations. Let's take it forward, one step ahead. And in order to do that, I'm sure of that, many people will come to you. These data are not accurate. These data are not, 100% accurate to reflect our work. Don't bother about it. Take those data, take as the benchmark, try to improve it, and let's take our journey forward. Number 2, Dr. Banerjee has shown the module 12, the strategic approaches and sources of financing. You all are the ambassador of the citywide inclusive sanitation. The beacon of inclusivity and the progress of the scaling up SOIS is in your hand. So this strategic, approaches or the sources of financing, we are the ambassador. We need to find it out. We need to be very much strategic with our development partner. We need to collaborate with them. We need to sensitize them. We need to sensitize from the top level government to the community level people. So it's again a strategic work, and we need to allocate the financing for the SOIS implementation and then scaling up for the whole country. This is imminent work. We need to do it from our own position. And the last one, that's the very important one. In Bangladesh, from the SOIS FSM Support Cell, we are actually approaching towards the developing SOIS ecosystem. The ecosystem, that means, actually, very frankly, I cannot do it alone. The government, they need also collaborative work with our development partners, our INGOs, NGOs, private sectors, and that's why the ecosystem development is very important, so that the ambassadors, whoever working in their own positions, that has to be reflected the SOIS deliverables. And that will, accumulate the combination or culmination of the SOIS deliveries as a whole to be reflected, in future prospect of the sanitation journey of the country. So collaboration and collaboration and collaboration. That's what Professor Chari has mentioned as the network. So thank you, and may our city continue to prosper and thrive as a beacon of inclusivity and progress towards your contribution. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Banerjee.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Movi. That was really encouraging. That is, and some of our city plans, which were presented during the last few sessions, was actually that at a city level, they have actually thought it very realistically on their field of specialization and how passionate they are. They didn't take the whole plethora of CVIS, but they actually spoke of a certain part where they can actually work and create an impact and initiate the process. Actually, thank you so much for having said that. Over to you. I must welcome now Dr. Roshan Raj Shrestha, who is the Deputy Director of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and always been a pillar of encouragement, strength, and inspiration for us in the whole journey of CVIS we have been doing, be it in terms of implementation or in the course delivery. Over to you, Dr. Shrestha. Sir, you are muted. We are not able to hear you. Still not.
We can't hear you, sir.
Still can't hear you, Dr. Shrestha.
Maybe you can try logging in one more time.
Not it?
Yeah, now it's
Yeah. Now it's good. Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah?
Perfect.
Good? Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry, always this sometimes some problem happen in this technology, I don't know. Let me first congratulate all colleagues who really graduated from CY's course. It's quite inspiring. I know from the beginning 2020 when this program started, Professor Chari, and you really did remarkable job here, like the way how you drive this. Of course, Dr. Banerjee was from there from the beginning. And this is also kind of innovation because when this COVID started and then all these devices, learning this equipment we learn, and this is also how we really started this webinar. I was not expecting that a webinar can be such a popular, and then we can do a lot of achievement. And even during COVID, this course was running. And that time we thought that maybe after COVID over, then we'll go with the face-to-face, but we don't do that. So because of only this, the virtual work, virtual learning, then the more than 500 professionally got this kind of the training program orientation. It won't be possible without having this technology. So this is also why innovation is really necessary, and innovation will merge when the things really we need. And we are all those things again going for innovation for sanitation as well. So thank you so much, colleagues, for joining. And I'm so glad that Mr. Chaurasia from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development also joined here. Mr. Chaurasia also one of the champion in India, how he is driving all these Swachh Bharat mission in the country, and the way how it's moving in India. You can really see how much change happened, and then how it trickled down to many states in India and beyond India. Of course, a lot of things learning also going to other country in several South Asian countries as well as African countries as well. So I'm so grateful that Mr. Chaurasia is also here. My colleague Dr. Sharam, I don't know why he didn't join. He was also from the beginning. He really engaged in this program. I'd like to really grateful with the Asian Development Bank Institute and ASCII for organizing this such a wonderful event, and this already fifth cohort now successfully conducted so far, my understanding. And so glad that a lot of colleagues really joined throughout the period of training program. And I also saw several colleagues who really did outstanding job during this course, and that I really like to congratulate all those colleagues as well. And then, we were working on this capacity building program for a long time. So when I joined this Gates Foundation almost 11 years back, and then one of the interest area is without building capacity, we can't really move forward. And that's why we did a lot together with Dr. Vasari. Of course, we from the beginning when I joined the foundation, he was my colleague working for the capacity building program. We did a lot of work. And then during the investment as well, like for example, we worked with the UNESCO IHE for the academic program, and so a lot of academic courses also run. But main challenge was it takes time. Academic program will run for 2 years, 3 years, and when we are going to implement. And then this kind of short courses that's really instrumental, because we need the professionals who really can jump in the field and do the work. And that's why this kind of training program is really helping to generate more human resources. So 500 human resources generated in 1 year is not a joke. So now what we need to do that, how can we really bring this professional who really got training, who got trained, that how really continue this momentum and work closely. Professor Ari, you rightly mentioned that we really need to formulate also a kind of alliance, or a kind of what's it called, the alumni. So alumni idea is so great. So how can we really work together? Because this now 500 need to really multiply. That colleague needs to multiply. We need thousands of people for this work. And the way how we are talking about citywide inclusive scientists, and no more infrastructure. There are so many things: governance, standard, institutional and regulatory framework. What we just talked about. Our colleagues of SOLA will be talking more about it. So it is software component, governance. All those things are linked now for sanitation to achieve sanitation. I'm really happy to listen this recently World Bank President Ajay Banga. So a couple of days back, I listened his interview when he came to India during G20. If you haven't really listened that interview, I really encourage you to listen that interview. I will share you the link after this my talk, or Professor Ari may have that as well. This is most inspiring for me, because Mr. Ajay Banga, who is the man from India, going from here and leading the World Bank, and if you see if you just listen his personality, how he really changed. Now he's going to change a big change in the World Bank. So why it happened? Because he knows the context very well. He knows the ground. And that's why this is also not only the training program. You can see that this is the South to South learning. South is training South. And South to South means like all Southern hemisphere people sitting together and learn from each other. This is very, very much important. Otherwise, we always look for the Western professionals to come and teach us. This will change. Now we all are champion. We can do a lot, and because of that, we can do more and we can reach more. So, and then Ajay Banga has nicely mentioned that if we have the policy and institutional reforms happen in all developing world where we need to focus, then our cost for achieving sustainable development goal going to be just half. We will be spending the money, we will achieving this goal in half of the money that what we have now estimated. Means how valuable it is. And each and every word when he talks about, then I just think about the CY, inclusivity, governance, everything he talk about, reaching the poor, the mechanism, how he think about is really inspiring. So this is why it happened that Ajay Banga is also from the Global South. Because of that, he speak all his words, and we have to really think about that as well. And this is something I really like this webinar as well, how we all come together to learn from each other. The other thing is about the professionals example now, how when I see who joined this program is also very interesting, because public officials, large number of public officials took these courses, large number of consulting and advisors who really provide service to government and to IFI's project. They attended this program. Means it's very interesting, because they are the one who are a doer, because they don't have chance to also go out and learn. And the people who really going to do the work, they are getting training means they can really do the things on the ground. So that public official engagement is very encouraging for me, as Dr. Mohit also mentioned that without having government engagement, without having public engagement, public engagement, we can't really achieve this goal. And we are very much on that on the track. I fully agree, Professor Chari, what you're talking about, the 5 key, the things that what you got from the impact evaluation. This is very, very much, I fully agree here. Now, my main thinking, my suggestion is also like forget about the infrastructure, technology, and so on and so on. Of course, we are also very much running behind the innovative technology, green main toilet, all those things we're talking about. But all this technology will happen only when we have the standard in place. And Professor Ari, what you talk about, one of the component standard, right? So now our studies should be, of course, the institutional reforms, regulatory reforms also is primary thing, and then at the same time, data and standard also very much critical. So in the standard, let's discuss a lot more on the standard. I joined one webinar recently happened when we were doing this South-South Learning Lab in Kathmandu. That time this webinar was initiated. That is very interesting because this webinar really give very much thorough understanding about the ISO standard, what we talk about. That standard really guide about the innovation, what we need right now. So how can we do more work on that so that the standard really is going to be adopted by the country, and the innovation and the standard all will be implemented by the country. So coming days, let's work on that. And I really encourage all the colleagues to join this program when they go back to do their work. And please consider this one as well, so that we will be achieving or implementing a lot more new ideas and innovation in this sector, and will improve our scientists and situation in the country, and the public health can be improved drastically, especially for the poor. We need to address that. UI is what we talk about, that we will be achieving all those goals and whatever we are mentioning in the SDG as well. So thank you so much for all the colleagues again, and then congratulations for all the graduates. And I will be looking, maybe we'll be meeting sometime when I come to your country, and then looking forward to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Roshan, for as I said, you've been a big strength of support and also giving a lot of new ideas to strengthen these programs. I welcome Dr. Chaurasia is joined us. Thank you very much, sir. I know it's a holiday for you, but you have taken the time to join us on this graduation day to deliver the keynote address. As you know, India is doing a phenomenal work in the area of safe sanitation under the leadership of Dr. Chaurasia and the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So before I invite him to deliver his keynote address, I now invite Ms. Chola. She is coming from the National Water Supply and Sanitation Council from Zambia. In fact, there are a lot of lessons we can learn from Africa. And as Dr. Roshan said, South-South learning is one of the important aspects of these sort of programs. Now, we have power sector regulators, we have telecom regulators, but South Asia do not have water and sanitation regulation. However, Africa is much ahead of this in setting up independent regulators for performance improvement, for data, for monitoring, for incentivization, and also making the systems, the water utilities accountable. So with this, I would request Ms. Chola. She requires a long time, but we requested her to speak for 10 to 15 minutes in terms of what is this regulatory framework is all about, how does it work, and how is it relevant for countries like India and South Asian countries. Over to you, Ms. Chola. I recently heard her speak in Nepal, and I was super excited to listen to her, and I said, you should join us and address our graduation day as a special invitee. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. I think it's a great honor to once again interact with colleagues from the Asian region. Before I even get into my presentation, I think I want to put it on record that for us to be able to transform the sanitation sector, we really need leadership. I think that's one area that has been lacking. And it's exciting to see that, there's this program that's running that is looking at issues of leadership in the sanitation sector. And, we need to have champions at different levels of the sanitation service provision chain. And I see that from the participants that were part of this program, we have people from different levels of government, which is very, very important. And I think it's going to go a long way in trying to bring about the change that we're looking for. I don't know if you are going to show the slides or I speak off the cuff.
Oh, we can share this with.
Okay. Yeah, so while that is happening, okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to give a bit of some insights on issues to do with regulation, the framework that needs to be adopted, because from Africa, I think we've learned that regulation is a key ingredient in actually, achieving sanitation service delivery. So we have done quite a number of things to try and foster regulation, a few insights on what needs to be done. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so, a strong regulatory environment requires balancing of various interests. So in our respective areas of work, we have all these competing interests, and that is the reason why we keep debating as to whether we need regulators or not. It's because we have not really appreciated the fact that regulators are there not only to look at one side of the coin, but to look at different aspects, social, environmental, economic interests. And when you look at those various interests, you realize that all the stakeholders fit into that puzzle. And so the regulator's role is to say, how do we then balance these interests for us to be able to get, the services down to the ground where they are required. Next slide. So a good regulatory framework has got 3 pillars. Now, it doesn't matter in what area we are trying to regulate, these pillars are fundamental. And when I looked at the course outline that was shared with me, because I needed to appreciate what was being discussed during the course of study, I realized that in as much as you were not really categorizing the content into these 3 pillars, you were actually discussing the pillars themselves. So the 3 pillars, the first, and I think the critical one, because without it, you cannot do anything, is the issue of regulatory governance. And I think Dr. Roshane touched on it a little bit. You need to have a sound regulatory governance for you to be able to regulate the water, the sanitation sector. And what is comprised in that is basically policies and legal frameworks. So what we've found out ourselves in Africa is that most countries would fail to regulate because the governance aspect of it was not sound. They probably didn't have policies, or the policies were fragmented. So you find one piece of sanitation sitting in this policy, another piece sitting in another policy. So it's difficult to actually regulate. Then the legal framework is also an important aspect within the governance setup. So once you have your policies, you need to have very clear laws that guide on who and what is to be done. You can move on. So the next part of the pillars is actually the regulatory substance, which speaks to the issues that need to happen. So all these conversations around, the inclusion, the pro-poor aspects, the tariff setting, issues of benchmarking, all those are comprised in the regulatory substance, and these define the quality and robustness of our regulatory decisions. And without those, we cannot regulate. It's like they are the tools for regulation that are required. And when you put the governance and the substance together, you now get the impact that everybody is looking for. So remember, at the end of the day, we all want to see services being delivered. We all want to see viable institutions delivering these services. We all want to attract investments. We all want to have cost-effective service delivery. So if you look at this conceptual framework of a regulator, you will see that from the studies that you were undertaking over the last couple of weeks, you were touching on these matters, as I saw from the outline that you shared with me. So basically, in whatever we do, in whatever we try to achieve, we need to make sure that the governance is there, and importantly, the laws and the policies are in place and they're very clear. We need to make sure we have the means to get there. So the regulatory tools, the regulations, and all these standards and things like that, the benchmarking, pro-poor aspects, the gender issues, those come in the substance. We need to see how those are taken care of. And when we do that, definitely we are going to see the impact on the ground. Next slide. So basically, to just summarize what I said, governance speaks to who should regulate. Substance looks at how we regulate, and the impact is the why. So people will be asking, why should you regulate? And then they'll see the results. So the why will be answered. But what is important to
Josna, can you hear her?
No,
Oh,
when we speak
Yeah,
about
she's back.
regulatory governance, we are basically talking about responsibilities. Who's responsible? Responsibilities are scattered around such that you fail to hold anybody responsible. You will find that the issue is handled maybe with the Minister of Environment, Minister of Health, Minister of Water, depending on who is there in your countries. And so when something goes wrong or when something is not happening, you cannot pinpoint who is accountable. So I think we need to have these very clearly stipulated, the responsibilities, the accountabilities, and the outcomes. And when we are talking about the outcomes, we should define what outcomes we are talking about. So that is where we bring in issues of KPIs, we bring in the benchmarking, because then we want to measure and we want to be able to tell that we have actually achieved the outcomes that we had planned to achieve. Next slide. All right, so this is just basically delving into the details. I think I have already explained. What I just want to emphasize there is that for us to have this framework up and running, there's need to have independence of institutions. And one of those institutions that needs to be independent is the regulator, because all these other stakeholders will have interests. So the government has its own interest. You know, the cooperating partners also have their own interests. The financials have their own interests. But somebody has to sit and say, okay, we know your interest, we know your interest. How can we have a win-win situation? And this particular institution has to be independent, because if it's affiliated to any of those, then their decisions will still be aligned to the institution that they are affiliated to. Next slide. Okay, so those are just the key aspects when you're looking at regulatory governance. I will not delve into those. Maybe you can just move to the next slide, because I've already touched quite a lot on those. So for regulatory substance, which I said is the how of regulation, it focuses on the intellectual and technical context of regulators. And I think this is where all of us fit in. Regulators can be at different levels, so long they're able to perform that function, so long they have the structure as I've defined it in terms of the 3 pillars. And if you look at the setup of governments, most governments, you'll find that, you know, cities, states, and countries would have regulators in their own respective rights. But what is important is that the focus should be on the intellectual and technical context and the methodology of how to get there. So this requires robustness and quality of decisions, and also considerations to be made. Next slide. So the issues that are in there, as I mentioned already, we'll be discussing issues like service levels, how do you determine the tariffs, issues of investments, how do you make sure that everybody benefits from the investment, not just the poor. So, you know, the issues of equity, the accountability and accounting systems, benchmarking, and so on and so forth. But here, what I want to emphasize is the issue of information dissemination, because as regulators, you need to have information. As a matter of fact, in wherever we are, whatever we are doing, I think information is that one thing that will make or break. So we need to now begin to say, where is the information? Somebody needs to be a custodian of that information so that we use it for decision making, also to disseminate to the different stakeholders. But this information has to be standardized information. The challenge that we've seen across Africa, which we are all now working on, is that everybody wants to have their own piece of information. So because I'm working in this area, I'm doing this aspect of sanitation or water, I will keep my own information. But that doesn't help because there's a lot of duplication, fragmentation, and it does not help when it comes to decision making. So issues of information and data are very key. And these are things that we need to pay attention to and see how these will be done. And of course, the reporting, because people need to know what is happening on the ground for us to have that impact that I talked about. Next slide. Then the final aspect, the impact, I think this is an interplay between the regulatory governance and the substance, like I mentioned, and it balances the expectations of different stakeholders. At the center of them is the providers and the consumers. The rest of the stakeholders are just interested because there's one aspect or the other that they want to see done in their own interest. But at the center of it all, we have our service providers and we have our consumers. How do these interplay to ensure that in their delivery of services, they make sure that all the stakeholders are on board, nobody's left behind, and the interests are being taken care of? Next slide. Okay, so issues of affordability, willingness to pay, how do we target our investments? Are we just targeting the rich, or are the poor also benefiting? You know, when we invest in SWOT system, who is benefiting versus on-site system? So things like that are issues that, you know, we want to see when we are discussing impact. Next slide. So the points to take home, and I think I want to take a little bit of time on this. The first issue is that we need to have robust policies. So even if we are trained as leaders and we grasp all the concepts, if we don't have policies that are clear and pointing to issues of accountabilities in our respective countries, states, and cities, we will not achieve what we want to achieve. Equally, these policies must be backed up by the legal systems and legal frameworks. So for us to be able to have this efficiency, this sustainability in service delivery, we need to put these in a well-structured manner. Policy must talk to the legal frameworks, and therein lies the issues of responsibilities and accountabilities. It will make it easier for us to then say, somebody has not done something. Who is it? It is this one. Then the other thing is that the issue of autonomous regulators. I know people would have all sorts of discussions around that, but the truth of the matter is that we cannot do without them. We need to have them. Like I have said, decisions are made based on people's interests. So you need to have one institution that does not have particular interest in what the politician is doing, in what the cooperating partner is doing, in what the funder is doing, because you agree with me that everybody comes with their own interests, including our funders. They'll come and give us money, but they'll have some interest somehow. So we need to see how this whole thing is balanced out, and therein lies the importance of having these autonomous regulators. In Africa, we have a mix. Some countries have autonomous regulators or independent regulators. Others are still using the government ministries. But because of the learning and sharing like you are doing, they have realized that they can't do this with government institutions. So they are coming back and they're saying, can you guide us on how we can transition? So what is important is to start. If you have a government ministry that is assigned with that responsibility, it is important to start, but eventually they need to be exposed to peers that are doing the same work so that they now begin to see the difference, and you will see that they will begin to transition and want to push to have an independent regulator. At the end of the day, we want to have sustainable service providers and satisfied customers. That is what needs to be achieved. But the third and final point that I want to make is that we can apply these fundamentals as I've stated them, but it is not a copy and paste arrangement. So you cannot say because NOASCO in Zambia have got this regulator and it's structured like this and it sits like this, so we copy it and paste it in Asia. It doesn't work like that. The fundamentals are there. They are the same. They will not change. We need the governance. We need the impact to be seen. We need the substance, but the application is different and it will be different. So the message there is that we need to apply these fundamentals in a context-specific manner, looking at how our setup is, the objectives of our different governments and so on. We put that into context while applying these particular fundamentals. And I think that way things will work. And if you look at our setup in Africa, we all have our different contexts. But when we begin to discuss regulation, somehow we are all going to be talking about governance in whatever form. We will be talking about the regulatory substance. For example, in our case as NOASCO, when we are talking about regulatory substance, we develop guidelines and all these things to regulate. Other countries would develop standards, others would develop regulations, but we are still talking about regulatory substance and how we are going to go about regulating. So these are the issues that I thought I could share and just motivate the graduates. I want to also indicate that it will take a while, but it is important to start. So one step at a time, we can all be champions of this. And believe you me, whatever we do in our little space will be noticed. I remember when we started this with Dr. Roche, we were talking and it sounded so abstract. And we'll sit in meetings and we'll say, okay, maybe we should do it like this, maybe this should happen like that. But here we are now, seeing some results. So I think what is important is to start, to share, to keep learning and exchanging, and eventually we will be able to see the results of what we are doing. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the graduates.
Thank you, Ms. Chola. Big round of applause to you. Phenomenal journey that you went through in Africa. Friends, what Ms. Chola spoke about, which is about independent regulation and how independent regulation system works through three pillars, governance and substance and impact, as she mentioned about, is alien to most of the Asian context, except in Malaysia. In South Asia in particular, in most of the countries that all of us are representing, we don't have the concept of independent regulation of water and sanitation, which includes both sewer and non-sewer sanitation. So what they're speaking about, what Ms. Chola brought in as a concept, as a food for thought, and we wanted this conversation to happen on this graduation day, is that if you want a sustainable service provider, it could be a municipality or it could be a water board. And if you want a satisfied customer, you need an independent entity to monitor and balance the forces. You have a government at the policy level setting policies, and you have service provider, it could be water utilities, providing water and sanitation services, and you have a customer who is demanding, wants to be satisfied, who is willing to pay provided there is good service. It is in that context, Africa went through a path of establishing an independent regulator to balance these forces. This is a food for thought for all of us. We don't have this concept of independent regulation for water and sanitation in many countries, but that is precisely the reason why we thought we should share this idea with us. It's a journey, as she said. It has to be contextually relevant. It's not a one-time fix-all, but it is a thought that we can probably incubate in our context and start this discussion of having an independent regulator for bringing greater accountability for service provider not only accountability, sustainability to the service provider and a satisfied customer at the end of the day. It's a win-win situation. So I leave this thought with all of us, and I like to thank Chola. I don't know which time zone are you in, but thank you very much for, for joining us. We have Dr. Sitaram joining us. I think it will be great. Before I invite Dr. Chaurasia to give his keynote address, Dr. Sitaram, would you like to say a few words on this graduation day? Over to you, sir.
Good evening from Tokyo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Graduation is a special day. In the Eastern culture, it's the completion of learning. In the Western culture, we call it commencement. It's the beginning of the next chapter. When it comes to sanitation, it is a combination of both in a way, because we have had this 10-week learning sessions where you have learned new things. As I was just listening to the conversation now, you have relearned some things, and you've also unlearned some things. All three are important. We need to give up some existing practices, especially when we are in bureaucracies. We so much like the existing systems. And of course, we don't want to break rules or systems, absolutely. However, changing systems is a requirement often, and it requires leadership and new thinking or out-of-the-box thinking. So this training program had all these components where you can learn from good practices in other countries and try to bring it to your own work. However, it cannot be just cut and paste. It has to be adapted and adopted, meaning you will add your own idea how to do it because you know it the best. Now comes the commencement, which is what I'm looking at. The challenges relating to sanitation are very complex, and they are not limited to civil works. So in this program, you have had learning on various aspects, from institution to financing to technology and managing stakeholder, including political masters and other stakeholders. So a range of things need to be done. And more importantly, the responsibility for delivering good services for sanitation must remain with the government. However, the private sector can play a very important and valuable role. And that aspect also you had picked up in this. Now, final point is that the work will take many years. So let us not be complacent that, oh, I can do it. Yes, we can start it, but during our own term in respective positions, we may get it started. So it's almost like a relay race, passing the baton. So the same motivation and the same commitment must go across terms of government officers, terms of political governments, and with the same conditions, right? Commitment, capacity, finance, and so on. And these are what we are trying to share in this course. So it is not only the knowledge to you, I call it as a small I, meaning individuals, right? We are all representing each one an individual, but we are also part of a big I, which is the institution that we are part of. How do we build capacity to the big I through each one of us who is a small I, so we can transfer the knowledge, we can share the knowledge and bring some change to the big I so that this work will continue beyond us as well as during our term and when our successors take over this work. And this training program is also shown such outputs. We have in each program alumni to come and share what they are doing. And some work has already happened with the alumni who have attended the past cohorts, and more work is needed. So I'm happy to share today two important things. One is the course that we have been doing with ASCII has reached some level of maturity that we now know how to do it well and how to do it even better, which meets the requirements of the various stakeholders who are implementing projects. Second one is we want to support you when you are on the ground. That support is more important than just giving knowledge to you. And for that, we need to work much more closely with you, each one of you. So that conversation will take place. It is already taking place in some states in India and in other places. But this can be systematic again, so that we can all work together to accelerate access to sanitation. So these two aspects I will also discuss with Professor Srinivasachari and ASCI colleagues, and we will build on the learnings from this course. The final point I want to hear from you is that we want to get feedback from you. What has gone well, what could be done differently, and what we could do better. So those aspects, please do give us your candid feedback, because we want to update and revise the way we deliver and the content we deliver in each cohort. And we have been doing so. This is the 5th cohort already. So these are all the points that I want to share. So thank you, Srinivasachari and other colleagues from ASCI. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sitaram. Always very apt and inspiring words. Thank you very much. I now invite Dr. Chaurasia to deliver his keynote address on this graduation day. As I said, India is making phenomenal progress in introducing safe sanitation through a combination of solutions. Started with the Clean India Mission 1, now Clean India Mission 2, which is looking at a massive investments in sanitation and improving the quality of life of cities. Not just 1, 2, 100, 300, 4,000 plus urban local bodies, if I may say so. The scale is massive. Over to you, Dr. Chaurasia.
Thank you, Professor Chari. My greetings to all participants and organizers, especially working in the field of sanitation. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Thank you.
Thank you. Because this sanitation is coming up in a very big way, and not only because of SDGs, that international commitment always remains. Apart from that, each and every individual country has realized that sanitation not only improves productivity of the country, the cost that is going on health, and also apart from that, the tourism and all-round development. So not only at international but at international level also, this has got a lot of priority. And here Professor Chari mentioned about India, but I am aware that across the globe, each and every country, to whatever they can afford, they are working in this area. So my greetings to ASCI, Professor Chari and his colleagues, and also ADBI team. First time I am meeting Dr. Sitaramanji and of course their colleagues also, but I really think that this citywide inclusive sanitation becomes very important in the sense that lot of fund is being pumped because of importance given in the sector, as I mentioned and you are all aware. So such type of trainings will definitely improve the skill and knowledge base of the people who are really going to implement on the ground. And the skill is one thing that is ultimately reflecting in two important things: service delivery and cost reduction. If these two aspects are not properly taken care, then in many cases, because as Professor Chari mentioned, we are dealing at national level here. More than 4,900 towns are there, and some 28 states and others. So there a lot of variation is there in not only approach, in planning, in technology selection, and in many cases the high-end technology they are selecting, and that because of high capex and opex it is not working. So rather than becoming a asset, it is becoming a liability. This underlines the importance that each one of you, whatever the national, international experiences learned here, that need to be thought that how to implement in your own country, in your own system. Many times, maybe some of you may be senior level, some of you may be slightly junior level, but nobody is junior. Once a good thought, good approach is there, highlight in the meeting that this approach should be taken and this is important, that is going to help. So these things will bring a lot of satisfaction to you, your country, your people who are going to be benefited from sanitation. Many of them may not be knowing that how they are getting this benefit, but over the time they will realize. I will mention about Swachh Bharat mission that is being implemented here. This will benefit all these participants, not only from India, but other 6 countries also who are participating. And it is our endeavor that whatever our learning is there to share with them. Under Swachh Bharat mission, first time government has taken a very bold step that these used water management that we call sewage management, even that sludge management, and bringing it in circularity is not only now limited to bigger cities as it has been done in past 15 years, 20 years. It is going to each and every town, whether it is 5,000, 10,000 or whatever it may be, going one step ahead. In rural area, even they are having 4,000 population, 2,000 population, massive drive is going on that each and every village and town is covered with safely managed sanitation. And of course, we know that when such a big level of task is going on, target is there, and we are working in a mission mode, cross learnings become very important, and many of us are making mistakes also, learning also, and then sharing and improving. So by way of such type of training, if we do these things in advance rather than experimenting all the time, it will save time, resources, and some point of time it will save us from negativity also, because we understand in 2003-4 in India, under our one of the ministry's programs, some biogas plants and even waste to energy plants were taken up. The logic was that they are putting all their money and we are only providing land. Why to care? Let them provide whatever they are doing. But what happened ultimately, that what they designed, they did not do the proper field investigation, as Ms. Chola and also I mentioned that ground level reality is very important. Copy paste is not going to work. So in that case, the characteristic of waste was different, and whatever they implemented, even 1 month it doesn't work. Huge cost of 76 crore, somewhere 100 crore is spent, and it went in litigation. The repercussion that happened, what I wanted to highlight, that last 15-20 years it went on in litigation, and nobody was daring to go for waste to energy, waste to biogas and other. Because of that, India as a country was pushed 10 years behind, 15 years behind in taking these things, what we are taking, whether it is waste to energy, whether it is a bio-CNG or self-reliant in respect of that crude oil import, cutting that and having the ethanol mix and other things, these were just pushed back. If anybody estimates that in economic terms, the loss was huge. So whatever you people are learning, and that's why in the beginning I mentioned, whatever the position you are holding, when you analyze things and become confident, raise that. I'm also here doing the same thing. Many places where I have to raise my voice that, see, whatever this planning is going on, that need modification. And 1, 2, 3 going was not working, but several times by raising, people slowly start thinking. I'm talking about higher administrator, decision maker, and senior people. And later on, they all I'm seeing converging to a direction which we are talking, that start planning from service level delivery, how it will be done, how O&M cost will be affordable. In a small town, in many cases, I am seeing population of 20,000. Is used water or sewage management treatment plant, they are putting with very high-end technology, seeing that the best I am going to put there. But its O&M cost is coming 32 lakh, 50 lakh per annum. A small ULB which is not earning even 5 lakh per annum, and even including water and other things, how they will keep 50 lakh in sanitation? So such type of things they keep on bypassing. Objective will not be served. That will create negativity and all sort of problem, and also a opportunity is lost. Once huge fund is invested and service level is not improved, the message will go to our decision makers that it is a black sink. Whatever we are putting, service level satisfaction of people is not coming. So why to include so much money? There are many other things where we can include and get appreciation of the people. So these things we have to be cautious, and whatever this opportunity is there, we should utilize in such a manner that our sector, our people definitely get benefited. And in this case, the proper planning and technical design, technology selection, because I see on regulator, even on leadership role, many things have been definitely mentioned, and all are important, including that this regulation standards. But one thing which often people don't get give priority, and they don't get time also, proper planning, city-wise customized planning, that is often missing. When a decision is taken that we have to take something in a particular town, the immediate focus is come that you prepare DPR in few days. How it is possible? Prepare DPR after taking that which area will be taken on site, which will be taken on these centralized or decentralized solution or off-site sanitation, and how it will be able to let us say serve better and economical also. Apart from that, as I mentioned, sustainability and then public satisfaction, all these angles, unless you take in planning stage, which is a lot of cost saving. I am examining many project proposals from different states. Somewhere cost saving in project is 50%, 60%. Such level of cost saving neither a regulator will bring, not finance will bring, not administrator will bring, nobody will bring. It is only engineer who is responsible for development. They will bring. They should be provided enough time and respect and regard, so that they are able to build properly plan this sort of project, which is economical, affordable, sustainable in long term. And this will come only you have cross learning and confidence to answer the questions of your seniors, and spearhead, and even ask them that some of the presentations can be arranged. Similar things will help a lot, and then these things will go a long way. These were few of the thoughts. A lot of things are there, but in this session, I would only like to thank you that whatever you have learned, fruitfully you take it and implement. And last, only one thing I would like to mention that this PHE sector is not any usual sector. Work with heart. It is not a usual business that I am working something. Connect with heart, then you will be able to serve people better, your nation better, and most satisfaction will come in you. This is the approach we are following here, our whole team, whether in state or center, in sanitation field, and also all institutions. So thank you very much. This is from my side. Thank you everybody for opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaurasia. That was really inspiring. And when you spoke with the facts that you have been actually experiencing through, and I'm sure our participants will take absolutely the notes and points, and then they will take it forward and they would keep practicing. That is what we said in the beginning, that this is not a graduation. It is just, as Dr. Sitaram said, I reiterate, this is just commencement. It's learned and then we commence on it. Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to now ask Jyotsna to take over and take on the next part of the session. Over to you, Jyotsna.
Yeah.
I will take your permission because a parallel meeting is going on. We are having
Sure.
Sure. Thank you
Sure,
so
sir.
much, sir. Please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks to all the eminent speakers for sharing your thoughts. So now I would like to say that we have arrived to the moment where we are announcing that all the 85 participants who are part of this cohort are graduating. We can have a round of an applause. You can open your mic and clap for yourself. Congratulations to all the participants. We understand that it's not an easy task to join with your full day job that you have, but still you have taken out time and you have shown us interest in learning and enhancing your knowledge. So thanks to all of you, and congratulations once again. So we'll have a group photograph, since we are not face to face, so we can have a virtual graduation click. So request you all to wear your graduation hat. Now you're all graduated, so I request Shashipriya to share the instructions in the chat box. So please wear your graduation hat and we'll click a group photograph. So it's there in the, when you click on the video settings, you can go to background and filter, and there you find your graduation hat in video filters. Yeah. I got my hat on. So request all the participants to firstly come on to your videos and wear your hat. This is the time moment to appreciate and also to record it. Yeah, I see people wearing the hat. So instructions are shared in the chat box. So quickly, I know we have crossed our time limit, but quickly wear your hat. We'll take a group photograph. Okay. Yeah. So I have you on two screens. So please keep smiling. Let me freeze my screen for you all. Yeah, thank you so much. So now in the next part of the session, we would like to hear from you. So to give an opportunity to all and also to maintain the time management. So we have asked for your recordings and we have combined them and we have made a video. So I request my colleague Shashipriya to please play the video. We'll be hearing from you all your feedback, your learnings, and what really inspired you from this course. Mm.
Namaste, I'm Rajita Aditya. I'm representative from Department of Water Supply and Sewerage Management Project Nepal. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizer team for this grateful opportunity to participate in the citywide inclusive sanitation course. I'm extremely happy that I got to learn about best international sanitation practices throughout the world. During this the entire course, I got opportunity to interact with participants from different countries. So this was a perfect knowledge sharing platform. Talking about my significant learning from the citywide inclusive sanitation course. This approach includes the recognition that sanitation is not just a technical issue, but also the social and equity issue. One key insight is the importance of involving communities in the planning and decision-making processes. When the residents have, say, the design and management of the sanitation services, it leads the solution that better meet their needs and preferences. Another crucial lesson is need for a diversified approach to the sanitation. CWIS emphasizes that there is no one fits all the solution. There is a mix of on-site and off-site sanitation options should be considered based on the local condition and affordability. To apply this insight in the practical implementation to align with my action plan, which I presented of the Birendranagar municipality, Nepal, Surkhet, Nepal. Birendranagar municipality should prioritize community engagement from the outset. Involving local leaders and addressing concerns of the marginalized and vulnerable peoples. Additionally, city planners and policymakers should take the holistic approach to sanitation, considering factors such as affordability, environmental sustainability, and gender equity. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi, I'm Mustafizur Rahman from Global Water and Sanitation Sector, Asian Institute of Technology. Today I'm going to discuss a topic of utmost importance, one that holds the key to improving the quality of life of every citizen in our city. That is citywide inclusive sanitation. Citywide inclusive sanitation is a holistic approach to sanitation that aims to provide safe and equitable access to sanitation services for all the residents of a city. It recognizes the importance of addressing sanitation not just as a technical infrastructure issue, but as a social and environmental challenges. The one who came from non-sanitation background like me, coming to this sector always a challenge is to understand such things. The city-wise sanitation course boosted me in terms of getting some lessons, insights, learnings and everything. Let me tell some learnings from city-wise inclusive sanitation and how these insights can be applied in practical implementations. We have started with the overview of sanitation. So then went through the framework and the principles. From this framework and principle, we have learned how these components can relate to each other to make the cities wise. Then we have learned how to design a city based in on-site and sanitation systems, and all of the components of sanitation value chains, from containment to the safe disposals. And one important things I have learned, and a very interesting one, the media, how a media can put their mark on making a city wise by wiring and advocacy to the city authorities, to the stakeholders and the community, and that is most important thing I have learned. And in conclusion, I would like to say the learnings from city-wise inclusive sanitation underscore the importance of a comprehensive, inclusive and sustainable approach to sanitation service delivery. Practical implementation should involve a combination of policy changes, community engagement and financial planning, and the technology adaptations to address these sanitation needs of urban populations while considering social, environmental and economic factors. At last, I would like to thank ASCII team for this opportunity to make me a leader in making our city wise. Thank you again.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Aishat Shahida, and I would like to tell you a bit about what I have learned through this journey. This has been a very eye-opening experience for me. I have come to learn the importance of water and sanitation, especially to the countries such as like Maldives. It is vital to the progression of community. I have learned that there are more sustainable, environment-friendly ways that we can do this. The current system in the place, our country has need to change. There are different type of modules being implemented in the other part of the world, and if they can do it, so why can't we? Within this time, I have also learned the urgency of the community awareness on this matter. And ASCII, thank you very much for giving us a very good opportunity to know about the new implementations and giving a good experience to learn this. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Daba Desisa from Ethiopia, working for Ministry of Water and Energy, Head of Urban Sanitation Infrastructure, Study, Design and Construction Supervision Head. First of all, I am thank you to get the chance of citywide inclusive leadership from the ASI to give the work the course. The course is very important, especially for East Africans and Ethiopians also. We are starting to implement citywide inclusive sanitation for major cities of the Ethiopian cities, especially for big towns, to improve our sanitation. As we started from the definition, city was inclusiveness, especially about equity, about the economy, about the health, about the gender issue. So it is very important to implement the citywide inclusive sanitation tools to improve our sanitation problems. So I am happy to get the chance and appreciate the organizer to give the chance and also continue your collaboration with East Africans and especially for our the country Ethiopia. So on behalf of my Minister of Water and Energy, I appreciate the organizer for your collaborate and work with us and the support to give TOT or training of trainee for more citywide inclusive sanitation. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate the organization. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, namaste to all. I hope this message find you.
Yeah, we have received much more messages, but in the interest of time, we have crossed already what we have said. So we will be disseminating your learnings, and thank you all for sharing your videos. So if I can, we can take any of the comments from you people. If anybody want to talk quickly for 2-minute intervention, anybody would like to share anything who have not shared your videos, the floor is open for you. Quickly, anybody would like to? Devendra sir, I see your mic open.
Thank you.
Would you like? Yes.
Thank you, ASCII team. Thank you, Mr. Professor Cherry. Also, thank you, Professor Banerjee, Jyotsna Menon, Shashipria, and all the team. I want this is the eye-opening training for me, and I don't say many things because all the things have come from Lord. So many thanks, especially Dr. Roshan Raj Shrestha, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for implementation of such type of citywide inclusive sanitation. And as per my idea, some bullets have noted for the thing, linkage of research for what is the impact of safely managed sanitation to health and economy, engage think tank and professional on a regular basis, run CWIS as a part of a smart city, also orient municipal stakeholders, safely managed sanitation, activate as in Nepal, you know, there is a ward level to national level coordination WASH committee. So activate rural municipality WASH coordination committee. Also formulate CWIS master plan development, some models of CWIS system, make a skill environment and networking of sanitation workers, collaboration with private sector for Nepal is the two most important. Develop the concept of sanitation in political location. I just at last one think that my research said 3C and 3, but I added 3P from this training: political will, public and prasashan. I remembering Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, who was the leg of sweeper. So that is the all. At last, this citywide inclusive sanitation must link with triple R principle: resource as fecal sludge, recovery as treatment, and reuse a compost fertilizer. So at last, I think I commitment in this training. I will do further extensive PhD in sanitation sector. That my personal commitment. Thank you. Jai Sar Safai. Thank you. Thank you, ASCII
Thank
team.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You have been one of
thank
our
you.
star
Thank you.
student. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for all your learning interest and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank
Yeah, so we've come to an end. So final remarks from our side. So this just showing your sample certificate. You will be receiving your certificates via post, and also a soft copy will be mailed to you uh, in a couple of days. So this is your certificate which you will be receiving. And finally, I would like to thank our ASCII team, Professor Chari sir, Banerjee sir, for the guidance and for being there throughout the course, and my colleagues Shashipriya, Avinash, Sayan, and Manjusha for helping us during the conduct of this course from the beginning. And also thanks to Sitaram sir for your guidance and for your expert lectures in between. Thank you so much. So finally, would like to announce that now we have completed our 5th cohort. So we have a pool of people, 444 graduates from 22 states of India and 15 different countries. When we started this, we started with India, and then we have expanded to Nepal, Bangladesh. Now we are across the globe. We have participants from Africa, from US, Canada. So it gives me immense pleasure to share this with you all. We have reached about 444 graduates. This is just the start of the journey, as Professor Chari sir already spoke to you about the learning network that we'll be having. So we are not stopping here. This is just the beginning of the journey. So we will be coming back to you with the Urban Learning Network. On behalf of ASCII, I am happy to share with you, we are launching this Urban Learning Network, which will be a leadership platform for the citywide inclusive sanitation leaders. So here we have different modules. We'll be having peer learning sessions. We'll have hand-holding, we'll providing hand-holding support to you. We'll have theme-based webinars, and also subject matter experts who will be available for you to clear your doubts, or if you need any expertise, we are there available for you. So I'm happy to share with you all. We'll be very soon formalizing this. We are launching the logo and we are launching the framework. So we will be reaching out to you all with this, and we'll be staying in touch much more frequently. Yes, so with that, I thank you all for joining, and stay in touch. So we'll definitely reach out to you after this. So it's just a beginning. So let's make CVIS a reality. Thank you so much. So Banerjee sir, do you have any final remarks to share?
No, nothing much. With a kind of a feeling a bit kind of heavy, but then that's, as I said, it's a journey we are beginning. So stay in touch. The WhatsApp group stays alive. All of us, you would be added to another WhatsApp group. Maybe we have all the cohorts. We would be all the cohort participants. You would be a part of that 360 participants to make it 444 participants in that group. And of course, as Jyotsna announced, we will be having an urban learning network. You would be a part of that. And that is where we would be doing more than just interacting virtually. We would be having more and more interactions in terms of handhold supports, in terms of framing documents and implementations, practicing, monitoring, etc. Thank you so much. And thank you so much all our resource persons who have been all our stalwarts, who have been always with us, and my colleagues, Jyotsna, Shashipriya, Avinash, Shayan, Manjusha, who have been tirelessly working. And of course, Aruna, I must not forget from our IT section, Miss Aruna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But before we leave, we do want to hear from you again. So there's a feedback link that we have posted in the chat box. Please share your feedback about how you found the course. If you feel that any more modules need to be added, or if you feel any specialized such courses need to be delivered, please do share your overall feedback in the link that I have provided in the chat box. Yeah. Thank you so much, and we will be in staying connected with you.